When they're shredded, how does their muscle look? If you're flat, you're drug-free. And if you're full, even when you're flat, you're still full compared to the drug-free lifter, you're probably enhanced. Vigorous Steve here, it's 2023. And people still claim natural. So I'm going to teach you guys what to pay attention to so you know exactly who's natural and who's not natural. Before we get into the video, please like the video, leave a comment for the algorithm, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. It's actually in the word. It's very simple. Whoever claims natural is lying. It's that simple. Because drug-free lifters, drug-free athletes, they don't go around proclaiming to be quote-unquote natural to everybody in the world. They don't care about that. They're drug-free lifters. They do everything they need to do to be a phenomenal athlete besides taking performance-enhancing drugs. Now, some of these natural lifters or drug-free lifters might draw a line somewhere. They might agree to not take exogenous testosterone or exogenous hormones, but they might still take some medications which are known to improve their overall athletic performance. Right? There's a very thin line to follow what is considered to be drug-free and what is considered to be enhanced. Because even supplements like creatine, for example, or some of the over-the-counter supplements which are able to be sold nowadays, you could say that they're giving you an unfair advantage compared to people who are not running these supplements. So, right, how far do you want to push that gray area before you call yourself enhanced? I do know that people who look phenomenal are 99.999% of the time enhanced. Of course, we have genetic outliers out there, but if you start comparing truly drug-free athletes to people who claim to be natural but look more on the side of people that are actually enhanced, it's actually very easy to see. So start looking at physiques which are enhanced. Do that for a while. Right? If you love bodybuilding, you've probably been looking at enhanced physiques for a very long time. And then start looking at the guys you don't follow because they don't look that impressive. So when you look at true natural bodybuilders, I mean, in a shirt, you wouldn't be able to tell that they lift, but when they take their shirt off and when they're in shape, they're shredded, way more shredded than most of the bodybuilders using steroids or other performance-enhancing drugs. Why is that? Because just like the muscle, the skin also reacts to performance-enhancing drugs. So when you take growth hormone or steroids or other PEDs, the skin is also going to grow to a certain extent. Now, with strenuous and long diets, you can actually get that skin paper thin, just like drug-free athletes, but there's still a different look because in many cases, when you're that shredded, diuretics are involved or pump products are involved or albumin plasma expanders are involved, right? There's a whole arsenal of drugs that people can choose from when they're enhanced, so that it has a little bit of a different look. Start looking at the truly drug-free athletes, really drug-free. So, for example, Team 3D Muscle Journey, right? I believe that all the people in that camp, I would consider to be at the top, the best of the drug-free bodybuilders or athletes. When you look at their skin texture, their leanness, it looks different from people who are enhanced. So you take that as a standard of what a truly drug-free lifter looks like. A lot of these athletes or people under their guidance do end up getting a little bit chunky in the off season, which is totally fine. You need to be in a caloric surplus to gain a decent amount of muscle mass when you're pushing against your natural potential, which is already a swear word. So let's say you've kind of maxed out the response that you're getting from your serum testosterone levels, and then you'll be happy with half a pound or a pound of additional muscle tissue per year, but you're still going to have to bump up the calories because you can't stay in this caloric restricted state for a very long time because then your hormone levels decline and your overall muscularity declines and you get flat and then you end up looking stringy, right? So when you look at these guys, it's very clear to see they're lean, they're separated, but they're flat. There's not much volume to their muscle when they're in that peak primed condition. Now, steroid users don't have this issue at all. Even when they're super shredded and dry and separated, their muscle will still look full. So this is the easiest way to compare a drug-free versus an enhanced bodybuilder. When they're shredded, how does their muscle look? If you're flat, you're drug-free. And if you're full, even when you're flat, you're still full compared to the drug-free lifter, you're probably enhanced. So a lot of guys that say that they're drug-free, but they look full and freaky with single-digit body fats, guess what? they're lying. They're all lying. I don't care if it's on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, whatever social media platform they have a huge following. You're full and lean. You're lying that you're not taking steroids. And if you admit to taking steroids, kudos to you. You're not afraid of the potential negative ramifications. You're not afraid of what general population is going to think of you. You actually have the balls to admit that you're taking steroids, even though generally speaking, it's heavily frowned upon, right, by general population. But let's be honest, who wants to be part of general population nowadays? I mean, I would assume that most people would like to be surrounded by like-minded people, and even the drug-free lifters are so far away and beyond general population that most of them would rather just stay covered up and only show their freaky muscularity to the people who actually appreciate it, being other drug-free or enhanced bodybuilders. I mean, I can highly appreciate drug-free bodybuilding because I did it for 11 years. And even though I didn't look anywhere as close to the people at Team 3D Muscle Journey or other really renowned drug-free bodybuilders, I still followed that path and I did it proudly. Of course, it was after taking steroids that I started looking really, really freaky, but I do know what it takes and all of the effort that it's required to even build a decent looking physique where you're not putting performance enhancing drugs on the menu. So just start comparing these two kinds of physiques. You take people from the Mr. Olympia and the highest level of drug-free competition, and that's not with polygraphs. I mean, polygraphs, tested federations. I mean, bodybuilders are basically liars anyway. They lie to themselves. They lie to people around them. Lying comes very natural to a lot of bodybuilders, unfortunately. So when they're undergoing a polygraph test, you know, lying is very easy. And well, we all know that we can beat a polygraph test with taking a beta blocker. So if you're not getting urine checked or blood checked, I would forego those drug tested federations under polygraph testing and consider all those people to be enhanced as well. And even with urine tests, that was kind of my job for 10 years, helping athletes beat the drug test by figuring out the detection time and making sure they speed up the clearance of metabolites. So even that isn't completely foolproof. So besides what people say, and besides passing drug tests, all you can really go by is how they look. Having been to a lot of tested shows and helping a lot of athletes win tested shows, and having been to plenty of IFBB shows or NPC shows where people were taking all kinds of performance-enhancing drugs, all you can go by is the look. So I already explained that to you guys. If you're lean and flat, you're probably drug-free. And if you're lean and full, you're probably enhanced. And there's very little people who can actually be lean and full at the same time. So what else can we go by? Vascularity. When you take anabolic androgenic steroids, the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system is modulated and blood pressure generally goes up, especially at higher dosages of steroids. And you can see that in the vascularity. So if you're drug-free and you're flat and you're lean and you're depleted, guess where the veins are? Somewhere not on the body. Most drug-free lifters, unless they make a dose of sodium before the workout, they don't have any veins to show for it. You know, maybe during the workout, they have a little bit of a pump, a little bit of vascularity going on. But when you see a quote-unquote natural looking lean but flat, but they're still covered in veins, that's another trick that you can tell that they're actually on PEDs. And if that still doesn't make it clear for you, you can look at their face. If their face is round, you know, fat while the body is lean, or their face looks highly androgenic, not emaciated, not drawn out, not very narrow and thin, just like you would see with truly drug-free lifters. If the face shows any level of androgenicity, or there's still some fat on the face, it's also very likely that they're taking performance-enhancing drugs. I mean, the fat here on your cheeks, or a pronounced jawline, or even this muscle underneath here, I'm not exactly sure what it's called. If that's all very pronounced, but the body is super lean, there's not a hint of fat on the body, but plenty of fat on the face, it's probably because they're taking fat burners. Or they're taking heavy cheat meals in the weekend, they go lie down, and because of the circulation of the body, some of the fat starts to accumulate in body areas that are not subject to heavy blood circulation. So you can see that on the face or the feet, or maybe even the hands. You know, people that hold water or accumulate fat disproportionate compared to drug-free lifters, because they're heavy on the cheat meals or on the refeeds over the weekend, and they're using fat burners. That's an very easy way to go by. And I see this happen over and over again, especially at high-level competitions. These guys use all the pharmacological aids that they can get their hands on. They get their body nasty, freaky, shredded, dry and ripped and separated, but their face is still round and fat. Right? You would never, ever, ever see that on a truly drug-free lifter because they can't use the pharmacological aids. They have to suffer down. They have to diet super, super strict, and even their refeeds aren't that stellar. So when they go to bed, there's not enough calories to go around to be accumulating in the face or the extremities due to poorer blood circulation. These guys get shredded uniformly. They're lean in the face, they're lean in the butt, they're lean on the hands, everywhere, right? They're shredded everywhere. Enhanced bodybuilders, more often than not, they still hold a little bit of fat in the face or the lower back or part of the glutes because they're so worried about maintaining the size. And the fat burners are not going to do their magic if they're still eating a ton of food to sustain the size, or their cheat meals or their refeeds are a little bit more luxurious. Now, on the subject of the face, what a lot of people probably don't understand is that, besides the effects that steroids have on the skin, it almost also stimulates epidermal growth factor. And when you're taking compounds that are promoting water retention and actually promote the growth of the skin, especially when estrogen-mediated or progesterone-mediated collagen synthesis occurs, you see a lot of folds in the skin, a lot of wrinkles. So some enhanced bodybuilders might get super, super lean, but their face starts to get all wrinkly and stuff. And these wrinkles are thick, and they kind of start to look like a bulldog or a pug, which are lovely pets to have. Very cute, very affectionate. But some bodybuilders generally start looking like this. And even though they claim natural, it's a dead giveaway when the skin folds in the face are kind of thick and juicy and water retentive. They're probably using anabolic androgenic steroids with some peptides on top. Natural athletes, drug-free athletes, people who don't take performance-enhancing drugs, when they're lean in the face, they're really sunken out. They look like Skeletor. It's completely dry and flat, not too many wrinkles unless they smile or grimace during strenuous sets. You shouldn't have skin folds, again, looking like a bulldog or a pug when you're just sitting there with a resting face. That's a clear indication of the use of performance-enhancing drugs. And then the last thing I want to highlight, even though some of the natural lifters kind of make themselves guilty of this fact, when you see lifetime drug-free on an Instagram bio, man, it's a dead giveaway also. Because, well, if you're 21 and you claim lifetime drug-free, by the time you're 25, you might not be lifetime drug-free anymore. You can say that when you're 80 years old or you're close to your deathbed, when you've had an entire life to think about this decision, and at no point in time did you ever consider dabbling with PEDs, then at the end of your life, let's say when you're retired, 65, 68 years old, depending on which country you live, when you are at retirement age, you can safely and securely and proudly say that you're a lifetime natural athlete. Before that time, you're full of shit. Really. Because your body will undergo a multitude of changes. As you get older, your testosterone levels are going to decline. And maybe at one point or another, maybe when you're 30, 40, 60 years old, you're like, you know what? I'm done with this natural stuff. I want to use some TRT. And all the more power to you. That's a decision you're going to have to make. But when you're 21, 25, or anywhere under 50 years old, I would say there's no such thing as a lifetime natural athlete because you haven't fully matured yet, bro. It takes years before you even develop a personality where you can say that you've made decisions that are going to last you a lifetime. Those are not going to occur when you're a teenager or anywhere, around 25 years old. So that's another giveaway. That's a huge red flag to me. Whenever I see that, I just unfollow and don't pay these people any attention. It takes years to develop your physique. And more often than not, at one point or another, you're going to dabble. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you want to take some performance-enhancing drugs to improve the overall quality of your life and the performance in the gym or the bedroom or business situations, then by all means, make that decision. But do your blood work first. Do your blood work multitude of times. If there's something wrong with your blood work, address that before you start dabbling with PEDs. If you want to do your blood work in America, I'll head over to TRT.com. They've got you covered. Excellent patient care coordinators who can get you healthy before you even start dabbling with TRT or anything above that. Do your blood work. Do some organ imaging. Check your genetic makeup. See if your parents are balding or have acne or cancer or other health conditions that you need to pay extra special attention to before you start taking performance-enhancing drugs. And when you get all of that covered and you do it smartly, there's nothing wrong with it. Just don't lie about it when you take it. And if you don't want to admit to a full-blown steroid cycle because you're taking PEDs that are not under medical supervision or not available on a script, get your script, cover that legal aspect, and just claim TRT. Nobody in the fitness industry is going to fault you for it. We all understand that the admittance to taking a full-blown steroid cycle with illegal compounds that you're sourcing online from other countries is probably not the smartest thing to do. But as long as you say TRT and leave it at that, or HRT, my levels were down after taking a steroid cycle when I was 20 foolishly, and they never recovered. Okay, fine. We can all see through that. That's not the worst light. It's a little bit of a white light to cover the legal aspect of this part of the fitness industry, right? We're all dabbling in the gray area. I completely understand. Not everybody is going to be as transparent about their PED intake as I am. So remember, kids, if you still see somebody out there claiming natural in 2023, just ask them to post their blood work. It'll be very easy to decipher from their blood work results whether they're truly drug-free or secretly saucing their socks off. Testosterone will be high, LH and FSH levels will be low, estradiol, estrone, and estriol levels will be skewed, SHBG might be in the gutter. There's so many easy ways to detect just from the blood work results whether somebody is enhanced or drug-free. Otherwise, ask them for a random doping test. Not a planned doping test. Trust me, those are easy to beat. As long as you know a couple weeks in advance, you can really prepare for that. A random doping test with a urine sample captured on camera, fully unclothed. So no samples, no stunt cocks, no methods to give a sample. Right? That's the only real way to see if somebody is truly drug-free. And even then, well, you never know what happens to the samples. I mean, people can be bribed. Samples can be lost or exchanged somewhere on the way to the doping lab. So keep all of that in mind. Truly drug-free athletes don't have time for that. They're too busy focusing on their training and the structuring of their workouts and their nutrition and the supplements which you're still able to have, which are getting less and less and less because the wider doping list is getting more extensive year by year. They focus on themselves, man. They don't go around all over the world proclaiming to be natural. They don't have time for that, and they don't care that people think whether they're drug-free or not. They focus on themselves, and they're very happy in that little corner of themselves being drug-free lifters. And the same can be said for the steroid users. I mean, even though I'm not proclaiming to be natural, I'm very open and transparent about all the things that I've taken and I'm still willing to take to enhance my overall bodybuilding journey and quality of life and improve my fertility levels. Not everybody's going to be like that also. So if you see somebody out there just claiming TRT, but they're clear on a little bit more than that, okay, just leave them be, right? They admit it to a certain extent. But if you ask them, because you're part of the community, you're on TRT too, or a steroid cycle and you work out, man, we're going to be honest with each other, dude. I've met so many people over the years who I'm not really sure what they're doing or taking. You have a little bit of a conversation. They open up because they know you're on the magic testosterone replacement therapy too. And you have a wonderful conversation. They would never tell that to the general population, but to like-minded individuals, they will open up. Right? It might not be glaringly obvious that they're taking steroids, but if you have a nice conversation and you're both mutually respectful, you will be surprised how many people are actually on TRT. A lot of people that you follow on YouTube are on TRT. I know because they come to me. I know because they ask for my help. And you can easily tell judging by the information that I just gave you in this video. And of course, the people who are on steroids, well, it's clearly freaking obvious. Most people don't have that freaky good genetics to look like they're on steroids, but they're not. And if they do look like they're on steroids, claim to be natural, they could be natural at that moment in time, but they probably still dabbled with performance-enhancing drugs, but their genetics are so phenomenal that they get to retain most of their muscularity. And even then, they're not going to look as freaky as they did when they were actually taking steroids. I know it was a little bit long-winded, but I wanted to give you guys the insight so you can make an observational assessment whether somebody's truly drug-free or sauced out of their minds. I'll leave it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find everything that I'm associated with down below in the YouTube description section. I'm always available for personalized advice, whether that's through consultations or personalized advice by email. Head over to my website at vigoroussteve.com. There's a ton of free articles for your reading pleasure. Bookmark that site. I also have a couple ebooks for sale if you're interested in a little bit more deep dives into the pharmacology that's involved for fitness or bodybuilding. Thank you guys so much for watching. Vigorous crew, you guys know what to do. A front double bicep for you guys. Fully enhanced. Doesn't really look like TRT, right? Well, full ampule of Bayer testosterone isn't exactly TRT. That's TRT for 2, 325 milligrams testosterone enanthate per week, plus 1,000 IUs ACG 3 times per week. Doesn't really look like I'm on TRT or even TRT plus a couple ones. It looks exactly like this. Looks like I've been coming off a steroid cycle. Looks like I'm bridging my way to a fertility protocol, which is going to happen a month from now. I'll leave it here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.